Good day, students. Welcome back to the ELM Placement Test Review, Part 3. I'm going to be going over questions 21 to 41 in this clip. I'll be covering data analysis and some components of Algebra 1. Okay? So remember, this document I'm going over is accessible on www.csumathsuccess.org/exam_prep. Just go to the free questions and then you can access this document. In part 1, I went over in detail how to get access to this document. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with question number 21. On 21, it says that the circle graph above shows the annual budget for the heavy equipment company. If the total budget is 50 million, what amount is budgeted for market support and engineering departments? So market support is 22% and engineering is 18%. So their combined percentage, the combined percentage is basically going to be 22 plus 18, which is 40%. Okay. So to get the amount that is devoted to these two sections, to get the amount, all you just have to do is you multiply. You just have to take the percentage, the combined percentage of the entire thing. So the amount is basically going to be 40% of the total budget. Okay, of the total budget. So what is 40% of the total budget? 40% in math is 40 over 100 or 0.4. Okay. Half in math is multiplied by the total budget, which is 50 million. I'm going to write it like this, 50 mil, okay? Just to save time. So if I multiply this out, 50 times 0.4, I'm going to get 4 times 0, 0, 4 times 5, 20. There's one decimal place, so I have to put one decimal place in my answer. So the answer is going to be 20 million. All right, so that's the amount of money that is spent on market support and engineering combined. So our answer is C. All right. All right. Now let's move on to question number 22. Question 22. It says in the graph above, D represents the distance in miles that a motorist has traveled after T hours on the road. How many hours does it take the motorist to travel 200 miles? So for this one, this is basically a problem where we're just reading graphs. Okay, so after 200 miles, say how many hours will it take to cover 200 miles? All right, so if you take a look at this problem, we are basically going to trace 200 miles to the graph and basically see what the output is. So if we trace 200, if I trace 200 to the graph, where on earth is it going to take me? Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can use this. So this is 200 right here, right? So if I trace 200, that's the distance to the graph. It's going to take me down to this point, and then I'm going to trace it down, straight down the center. It's going to be somewhere right in between 5 and 6 hours. So what is in between 5 and 6? If I average it, is 5.5. So the answer to this is 5.5 hours. Okay, so this is distance and this is hours. If you want to find out how many hours it takes to cover a certain distance, just trace your distance to your graph, and then go from your graph to your t-axis or your x-axis, and that will tell you what time it is. Okay, so for example, 50 miles, it took him 1 hour to cover 50 miles, just like that. All right, so the answer is 5.5. All right, now let's move on to question number 23. Question 23, it says, which of the categories shown in the graph above accounts for approximately 1/3 of the company's expenses? So on 23, we're looking for a third. What does a third look like? Let me draw multiple circles and we can sharpen our skill on estimating percentage of a circle by hand. Okay, So if I wanted to, what is a half gonna look like? If I wanted to draw a half, what is it gonna look like? All I just simply do is split it down the center, right? So this is a 1/2. What if I wanted to do a third? A third is you just go down the center, stop right in the middle, and then you go like that, and then you go like that. That's a third. And then a quarter is just a half, and then another half in the other direction. All right, so this is like 1/2. This is like a third, and this is like a fourth. All right. So which of these measurements is similar to, which of these segments is similar to this big section right here, a third? Payroll looks like a quarter. This looks like 1/8. This right here is the best approximation, the best one that matches this one right here. So I have to say travel D is approximately a third of the entire expenses. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to question number 24. In the circle graph above, says the circle graph above represents the percent of total revenue a publisher receives from various types of publications. Of the following, which best approximates the percent of total revenue that is derived from textbooks and cookbooks? So, textbooks and cookbooks combined, what percentage would that look like? So if we think about what we just drew, if we look at textbooks and cookbooks combined, this section right here is bigger than a quarter, right? And is less than a half. So something like a third. A third is about 33%, right? Because this two sections together looks like a third. So which of these percentages right here is closer to a third? 35%. Okay? So our answer is going to be 35% because it's very close to a third. So our answer is C. Okay, remember we're doing textbooks. This section and this section, these two sections combined. All right, that's what we're looking at. All right. Okay, so that's that. Let's take a look at question number 25. It says the above graph shows the arithmetic. The above graph shows the yearly sales for firm F. What is the average arithmetic mean of yearly sales of firm F for the 3-year period from 1979 through 1981 in millions of dollars? So, the arithmetic mean basically can be defined as the sum of the list divided by number of the list. Okay, so if you sum of the elements, yeah, sum of elements. We're talking about some elements here. Okay, so sum of elements. If you take the sum of the elements on the list and divide it by the number of elements in the list, that basically gives you the arithmetic mean. Okay, so let's say you have a list of x1, x2, all the way to xn. You have it in a list. Your mean is basically going to be the sum of all the elements, which is x1 plus x2 plus da 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 plus xn, divided by the total number of elements you have, which is n. That'll be your mean. Okay, so let's take a look here. We have 3 elements for 25. From 1979 to 1981. So for 1979, we trace it over here. From here to here is 2. So for 1979, we have 2. For 1980, we have 3. And then for 1981, we have 7. Okay, so these are the elements in the list, so I'm going to sum them up. 2 plus 3 plus 7. How many elements are there? 3 elements in all. Okay, so our mean is going to be 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 7, 12 over 3, which is 4. So $4 is the mean of the yearly sales for those 3 years. So our answer is B. Okay, all right, let's move on to the question number 26. It says the recorded high temperatures on 4 successive days were 94, 85, 77, and 86. What was the recorded high temperature on the 5th if the average temperature was 85 degrees for the 5 days. So basically, remember what the mean is? Sum of elements divided by number of elements. So if the mean is 85, that means that if we did 94, well, let's declare the variable what we need first. Okay, so let's say let x basically be the temperature for the 5th day. Okay, for the 5th day. So I want to write down an equation for the average. The average is going to be 94 plus 85. First, second, third, 77 plus fourth, 86 plus the 5th one. I don't know what the 5th one is. Let me call it x, okay? Because that's what we declared it as. The 5th one has been x divided by the total number of elements. How many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 elements. You got 85. Okay, so if I can solve this equation for x, then I'll be good. Okay? So 94 plus 85 plus 77 plus 86 is 342. So if you add them all up, you get 342 plus x divided by 5 equals 85. Now to get x by itself, I need to get rid of the denominator and then the 342. So I multiply by 5 and then subtract 342, okay? So multiply by 5, multiply by 5. These two cancel out. So you're going to have 342 plus x equals 425. Okay? You multiply 5 times 85, you get 425. Alright, so to get x by itself, subtract 342 from both sides. And then you get x equals 83 as your final temperature. So this is the 5th temperature. Okay, so the 5th temperature is 83 degrees. Your answer is C. Okay, so don't forget your formula for arithmetic mean is sum of elements divided by total number of elements. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to question number 27. 27 says. 27 says, as a scooter salesman, Gerardo keeps track of how many scooters he sells each week. In his first 4 weeks on the job, he sold 9, 4, 7, and 6 scooters. In his 5th week, he sold K scooters. If the median number of scooters sold per week for the 5 weeks is equal to 7, which of the following must be true? So what on earth is median again? Median is the middle element in a sorted or ordered list. Okay, so if I order a list of numbers by magnitude, either increasing or decreasing, the middle element should be my median. Okay, so since he found the median, that basically, since he's saying 7 is the median, we have 5 numbers, right? We have 9, 4, 7, 6, and K. All right, so he's saying 7 is the median. That means 7 is right in the center. Okay, so if 7 is in the center, that means there has to be 2 numbers before it and 2 numbers after it. Okay, since it's in the middle. So let's say our sorting, we sorted it by increasing, smallest to biggest. So by increasing, we're going to have 4, 4, and then 6. Only 2 can be before it, okay? And then we have to have 9. 9 has to be here, and the other number K has to be to the right of it. Okay, so we have to have 2 numbers smaller than 7 and 2 numbers bigger than 7. So which of these satisfy this equation? So basically K has to be greater than or equal to 7 in order for it to be to the right of 7. Okay, so the answer for this one is B. Okay, I'm sorry, C. It has to be bigger. Alright? Okay, now let's move on to question number 28. It says, what is the median of the cost, median annual cost of water per household in 5 communities listed in the table above. So remember what median is again, as we did in question 27. It is the middle element in a sorted or ordered list. So first thing we have to do is we have to sort this list. Let's sort it by increasing, okay? By increasing. You can do it increasing or decreasing, but let's do increasing, and then the middle will be our median, okay? So we're sorting by increasing. We're going to have smallest one is 156. And then the next one is 268. And then the next one is 434. Next one is 557. And then the last one is 696. Okay? Oh, it's not. I'm running out of space. 696. Let me move this object to the right so I can insert this. Okay, just a little formatting here. Pardon me. 557, and then last one is 696. So which one is in the middle? Yeah, this one is right in the center. So that's the median. So the median is 434. Okay, so don't forget, for median, first thing you do is you sort. After sorting either increasing or decreasing, then you find the middle element, okay? If you have 2 in the middle, you just average it out. If you have 1, and that's your median. Okay, so our answer for this one is C. All right, let's move on to question 29. Question 29 says an investment company advertised that last year its clients on an average made a profit of 9%. Which of the following claims can legitimately be made based on that information? So if the average is 9, that means that the middle is 9. That means either everybody scored, everybody's right here, or maybe some people here and some people here, okay? There has to be people on both sides to balance the equation, all right? So some people are greater and some people are less, okay? If you have just one person here, then you have to have a lot here to make it balance out, all right? This person has to have a lot of sales in order to balance out, okay? So let's look at this. It says all of your clients made a profit of at least 9%. So if everybody made at least 9%, that means some will be greater, which basically tilts the scale to this side, which is not accurate, okay? The second one says at least one of their clients made a profit of at least 9%. That makes more sense, because if you have one here that has a huge number, then there could be others here to basically balance it out. Okay, so if there's at least one that made a profit, there's at least 9, that means it could be greater, then others made less, then it kind of balances it out. So B is the best option here. If you look at C, it says some of your clients will make a profit of at least 9%. We don't know. It could be greater than 1, but if it's greater than 1, we don't know if it's greater than 1. Okay? And if it says all their clients will make a profit of at least 9% this year, it's just like the first one. All of your clients will make at least. That's going to skew everything to the right, and then there isn't going to be anything here, so the average will be bigger than 9%. Okay, so there has to be at least one person to the right in order for this to work. Okay, and then E says if a person becomes one of your clients, that person will make a profit of at least 9%. That has nothing to do with what was stated here. This is talking about last year. We're not making any predictions here, so E is not an option. So the answer is B. At least one person has to be greater in order for the whole thing to balance out. Okay? All right, let's move on to question 30. Question 30 says, Abraham's physics class has 40 students, and his class had an average of 75 on the midterm. Anita's class has 20 students, and her class had an average score of 81 on the same midterm. What was the average score of all the students in both physics classes on the midterm? So for this one, the average, the entire average is basically going to be what you get when you add the total score divided by the total number of students. Okay? All right, so let's write that down. The average. So total average It's just like the mean, okay? Is equal to, is going to be total scores divided by total number of students. Okay? Alright, so what are the total number of scores? In Abram's class, to get a total number of scores, you're going to multiply the average by the number of students. So it's going to be 75 times 40. This will give us the total scores in Abram's class, and that is going to be 3,000. Right? In Abram's class. The reason why we did this is because if you wanted to get the average, you divide the total scores by the total number of students, right? But if you want to get the total score, you do the opposite of dividing, which is you multiply the average by the total number of students, okay? 3,000 is the score for Abram's class, and then for Anita's class, what you do is you multiply the average, which is 81, by the total number of students, which is 20. When you multiply that out, you get 1620. Okay, so when you add this up, you're gonna have, so you're gonna get the total score. Total score is gonna be 3,000 plus 1620, which is 4,620. All right, so total score, if we divide it by total number of students, is going to be 40 plus 20. Students for 40 plus 20. So it's basically 4620 divided by 60. Okay, I can divide by 10, cancel the 20s, the zeros out, and then I'm going to divide 462 by 6. 6 goes into 46, 7 times 6, 42, and then I subtract that, I have 42. 6 goes into 42, 7 times 6, 42, 0. Okay, so your final answer is going to be 77. The answer is A. Okay, now let's move on to the next section, the algebra section. We're going to start off with question number 31. 31 says, if x is -1 and y is 6, what is x squared plus 3xy? So x squared plus 3xy. This is a problem that tests your ability to simplify, to basically substitute and simplify expressions. Okay, so if I plug in x squared, -1 is going to be -1 squared plus 3 times x, which is -1, times y, which is 6. Alright, and then you simplify, -1 squared is just 1. And then 3 times -1 times 6 is -18. And then 1 minus 18 is -17 because the bigger number is negative. So there you have it, your answer is E. Okay? Okay, number 32. Same thing, substitution and evaluation. In this case, we have 3t squared minus 5t minus 6. And then we're plugging in -2 for t. So when I plug it in, I'm going to have 3 times -2 squared minus 5 times -2 minus 6. Now, we're going to do the order of operations here, okay? Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? Parentheses, exponent, multiply, divide, left to right, add and subtract left to right, right? So we're going to do that here. Exponent goes first, so what is -2 squared? -2 squared is 4. You have to be really careful because when you times the -2 times -2, the minus is multiplied to give you a plus 4. Okay, it's not going to be -4. So this square changes this minus to a plus, okay? So 3 times positive 4, minus times the minus again is going to be positive 10 minus 6. So that's going to give us 12 plus 10 minus 6, which is 22 minus 6. And then final answer is 16. Okay? So your answer for 32 is E. Alright, let's move on to question 33. Question 33 is a substitution question. It says, if B is 6 and H is 10, what is 1/2 base times height? It's basically like area of a triangle formula. So we're just going to substitute the values of B and H. b is 6, h is 10, and then you multiply it out, you have 60 over 2, which is 30. All right. Number 34, we're going to do 4r to the third, s to the fifth, divided by 10r to the 8th, s to the 6th. Okay, so let's just divide here. 4 and 10. What goes into 4 and 10? Since 4 is even and 10 is even, I can divide both sides by 2, right? So 2 goes here twice, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 on the top and 5 on the bottom. And then this one, just subtract the smaller one from the bigger one. Okay, so I'm going to have r. I'm going to do 8 minus 3, because when you're dividing, you subtract exponents, right? And then s, subtract the smaller one from the bigger one. The bigger one's at the bottom, so it's plus. The smaller one gets subtracted from it. Okay? So don't forget the rules for exponents. We have a to the x over a to the y. When you're dividing, you just subtract the exponents, right? Then when you're multiplying, you add exponents, x plus y, right? So, but anytime you have them top and bottom, just take the smaller one to the bigger one, and that should be fine, all right? So you're going to have 2 over 5. 8 minus 3 is 5, r to the 5th. 6 minus 5 is 1s. So 2 over 5, r to the 5th s is your final answer, and that is D. Okay? All right. Let's move on to 35. It's another question that assesses your knowledge of the law of exponents. So basically we have a squared c to the third times ab squared c. If a power does, if a term doesn't have an exponent, just give it 1, okay? Because that's the default exponent. So a squared times a is going to be a. Since we're multiplying, you add the exponents, 2 plus 1 for the a. B is by itself, it's not being multiplied by anything, so it doesn't change. And then you have c to the third plus 1, since you have the 1 here, okay? So don't forget, when you're multiplying exponents, you add the powers, okay? So it's going to be a to the third, b squared c to the fourth. That's your final answer. And answer to number 35, 324 is C. Okay? All right. Let's move on to question number 36. All right, let's see. What does 36 say? 36 is a law of fractional exponents. We have 36. We have 27, a to the 12, b to the 6th. We're raising that to the 1/3. So what we're going to do is distribute this power to everything. So distribute the 1/3 to 27, to 1/3, and then to 6. Okay, so you're going to have 27 to the 1/3. Because there was a 1 here before, right? So just 1 times 1/3 times a to the 12. Oh snap. 12 times 1/3 times b to the 6th times 1/3. Okay? So basically we have 27 to the 1/3, a to the 12 over 3, if you multiply across, and then b to the 6 over 3. What is 27 to the 1/3? That's the same thing as the cube root of 27, because the denominator is a root and the top is a power. So 27 to the 1. And then 12 over 3 is simply 4. And then 6 over 3 is simply 2. So, what is the cube root of 27? I know 1 to the 3rd is 1. That's wrong. 2 to the 3rd is 8. No. 3 to the 3rd is 27. Voila. So the cube root of 27 is the number that's cubed to get 27. So it's 3. So you have 3a to the 4th, b squared. Okay, so there goes the answer. Another way you can do the cube root is by expressing 27 as a power. Okay, so you can write it as the cube root of, instead of 27, you can write it as 3 to the 3rd, and then a to the 4th, b squared. So this cancels, the cube root cancels out with the power, and then you just have 3a to the 4th, b squared. Final answer is A. Okay? All right, let's move along to question 37. 37, we have 16 to the negative 1/2. So because you have a negative exponent, that means this has to be reciprocated, right? So anytime you have a negative exponent, you have to reciprocate the number. So it's going to become 1 over 16 to the 1/2. You see that? Now what is 1/2 power? 1/2 power is the same thing as the square root. So you can write this as 1 over the square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4, so it's 1 over 4. Okay? Another way you can do this, you can also write 16 as a square, 1 over 4 square, raised to the 1/2. And then the 2 and the 2 cancel out. You also end up with 1 over 4. Just two different ways of doing it. Okay? So your answer is D. Okay, let's move along to question 38. Question 38 says, the average price of gas decreased by 10% during 1 year. If X represents the average price of gas at the beginning of the year, and if Y represents the average price of gas at the end of the year, which of the following is true? So an increment by 10% basically means that you went from 100%, 38, from 100%, you added 10%. Okay? So it's going to give you 110% of the original. So the final is going to be 110% of the original, right? That should be your equation. So the final price was Y, and 1.10% in math is basically you take the decimal point and move it forward twice because you're dividing by 100. So it's going to be 1.1, and then the original amount was the amount at the beginning of the year, which was X. Okay, so final was Y, original was X, so Y equals 1.1X. So your answer is basically D. Okay? Alright, let's move on to 39. 39 says, this year, Jose earned 3 times as much money as he earned last year. If Jose earned T dollars this year, and he earned L dollars last year, which of the following equations represents the relationship between T and L? So 3 times of what he earned this year, he earned 3 times as much this year as he did last year. So last year is L, this year is T, so if we triple this year, you get last year. So 3 times T, 3 times this year, 3 times as much as last year. So if you triple this year's amount, you get last year's amount. So this is basically the equation, which is, wait a minute, it says, Jose earned 3 times as much as he earned last. 3 times, oh, I'm sorry, I got it confused. So basically, it's switched around. So this year, he got 3 times as much as last year. Okay? So you can switch this around and have 3L equals T because of the reflexive property of equality. The answer for this one is basically A. Okay? So 3 times last year. So that's why I multiplied 3 by L. Alright, let's move on to question 40. Question 40, we have y squared minus 3y plus 6 minus 3y squared plus 4y minus 5. When doing this type of problems, I like to distribute the negative to the right side first before I start subtracting. Okay, so if I do that, I'm going to rewrite the left side y squared minus 3y plus 6 and distribute the negative to everything. So it's negative 3y squared minus 4y plus 5. And then I'll add downwards. And then that's going to give us negative 2y squared. And then since the signs are the same, you add and keep the sign, negative 7y plus 11. And there you have it. Okay, so this is minus minus plus, minus minus plus 11. Your answer is E. Okay, so that's that. So thanks for watching this clip. I'm going to be preparing the next part 3 for Algebra 2. So do subscribe, and hopefully this helps you.